The former Secretary to the Treasury, Keith Muhakanizi, appeared before the Parliamentary Committee of Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises to explain his part in approval of the controversial 10.6 billion that was irregularly initiated by the former Minister of Lands, Betty Kamya, to pay off 6 claimants, of whom some are said to be ghosts. From onset, Muhakanizi distanced his name from the scam, saying he was away when the supplementary was processed.
And secondly, I was not party to this. Clear, very clear. I was not party to this. But I just want to say, what, and we need to discuss it honestly, what does the Minister of Finance, the Secretary of Treasury and his staff do when Cabinet and Parliament have added on a supplementary?
Muhakanizi also faulted the process of approving the 10.6 billion supplementary, saying it was not in conformity of the Public Finance Management Act.
You specifically said that it's a mandatory treasury requirement to ensure that accounting officers are held personally accountable for public resources.
Normally, and under the rules, should be upfront. And I wanted to emphasize that one. And I agree with the committee that in this case, it was not upfront. It was not upfront. But overall in the process, the whole thing was approved by all various agencies, executive and the rest.
Kosase then turned guns to the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury, Patrick Ochailap, who also deputized Muhakanizi then, and questioned him over the matter. Ochailap, who labored to justify his actions using the Constitution, ran short of words to convince the committee.
I rang him when I received the letter from the minister on account of the request from the Minister of Lands.
And what was his advice?
He said, I think since this is coming from the executive, it's coming from the executive, and the executive is responsible for submitting the budget and estimates to Parliament, and all supplementaries must go through the executive arm of government before they come to Parliament, and this is now communicating a directive from the head of state to a subordinate minister who is acting on behalf of the head of state in management of the budget. Please, you can go ahead and submit the request to Parliament.
And you're sure if I called that gentleman here, he would say what you are telling us?
Yes.
What's his name again?
Paul. Julius, sorry. I don't know why I have Paul in my head. Julius Wakoli? Mukoli.
Ochailap later conceded and apologized that he approved the irregular supplementary budget in error because he did not see the said presidential directive that was quoted by the former minister Betty Kamya, now IGG, in requesting Ministry of Finance to avail funds for the 6 claimants without knowledge of the accounting officer of the spending agency.
You did not follow up because there is no presidential directive attached to that letter, and yet that letter is not a presidential directive.
Honorable Chair, I concede I made an error in judgment.
Kasia Rao Kurukuru, who got 6.43 billion for land at Chiyunga in Shema district, and Stephen Peter Nangenda of Chibale, who received 1.6 billion. Julius Busura, who received 1.4 billion shillings. Natalia Namuli, who received 1.6 billion. Yisa Karakana, who received 125.3 million. And Mugisha Godfrey, who received 1.49 billion for land at Wiyaga in Chibale district. But the Auditor General notes that some claims were unverified, yet there was another overpayment of over 400 million shillings. Report compiled by Fred Kajubi for the news.
Download the app on App Store or Google Play Store now. Vision Digital Experience, the future of media.